Breaking news. Everyone's favorite gaming megacorp has entered the highly competitive market of crypto games. That's right, Ubisoft has finally realized that gamers are tired of the same open world slop on repeat. What they really want is NFTs. With essentially no marketing leading up to or following the launch of this game, most of you have no idea it exists. As you can tell by this video's abnormally short runtime, there really isn't much to talk about here. I figured the least I could do is to document its existence before it's inevitably shut down. Here are my first impressions of Champions Tactics Grimoria Chronicles, the latest NFT game from Ubisoft. Champions Tactics Grimoria Chronicles is not Ubisoft's first foray into crypto and NFTs. Prior to this, they had included collectible NFTs in Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint. The first and only piece of marketing for this project arrived just the other week with their official launch trailer. The artistic decision to leave the mouse cursor in the middle of the screen while recording the footage for the trailer is definitely a unique one. 200 likes and 3,000 dislikes, with only 21,000 views. That's actually a pretty impressive amount of engagement. In order to play, you'll need to download the Ubisoft Connect launcher. This requirement alone is enough to smother any game's chance of success. Nonetheless, we're welcomed with a decent looking cutscene, vaguely hinting at the board game / figurine theme they've got going on.
Prepare to be consumed by this strategy crucible, where champions rise and fall.
Champions Tactics. What an awful name. How does that even work grammatically? There's no apostrophe, it's just two unrelated plural words jammed together. It's like naming the game Characters Skills. This poor grasp of basic English fundamentals continues throughout, immediately evident in this tutorial. Everything here reads like it was copied directly from Google Translate, making the tutorial more confusing than it needs to be. Regardless, the first character we're introduced to is named Manager, literally just Manager. He serves as your guide through the tutorial and walks us through our first game of Champions Tactics. Matches begin with a drafting phase where players take turns placing their figurines on the board one after the other until you've each placed 3. The deep strategy part of the game starts right here in how you draft your champions. For example, your enemy goes first and they placed a fire type unit. You can then counter that by placing a water type unit. Back to their turn, they place a grass one, you play a fire, and so on. Champions will have one of 9 different elements, which are split into 3 different rock, paper, scissors like triangles. Elements from one triangle have no strength or weakness against the other triangles, or at least as far as I can tell. It's an interesting concept, I guess, but ultimately, it hardly matters. Since you can only place champions that you actually own as NFTs, if you don't own the one that counters your enemy, you're out of luck. We're not even a minute in and we've already run into pay-to-win aspects. Once all 6 champions are placed on the board, the true battle begins. This is done through a simultaneous turn-based system. You and your opponent secretly choose skills for your 3 units to perform, and when you're done, you click Ready. Each skill can only target a certain position on the board. Some can only hit the front line, while others only affect the rear. You've probably seen a similar combat system in Darkest Dungeon, but it's almost insulting to include that game in the same sentence as our topic at hand. Anyway, once you've clicked Ready, the attack phase begins. This requires the player to perform the difficult act of staying awake while a bunch of dice are rolled to determine which order the skills are performed in and how much damage they do. This cycle then repeats until a player loses all of their champions. Alright, that's everything. Really, I'm serious. Once the tutorial ends, we're asked to select our starter pack. This will grant you 3 different ethereal champions. These ethereal champions are unique in the fact that they're consumable. Once you've used them in 5 ranked matches, you can't use them again until the following day. Nonetheless, as soon as we're finished with this tutorial, the manager tells us to head straight into a ranked game. Suddenly, my game freezes. I can't do anything. And then the match just ends. Okay, let's try again. This is a Ubisoft game after all. We can't expect it to work. Nope, same deal. I should have known something was fishy with a queue that fast. Every single time I queue up, I'm matched against a player named Paulstar111, who instantly wins before we even select our units. No matter what, this always happened, resulting in me losing every single one of my ranked placement matches. I then just gave up and turned to the official Discord server, because surely someone here might know what's going on. Here, I was met with a rather humorous discovery. Apparently, this issue is happening to everyone. This has resulted in the ranked mode being entirely unplayable for the whole weekend. I guess this wasn't a big deal to the developers, since this was the third consecutive day of the glitch, and no communication had been given regarding a fix. Not exactly like there's a huge player base for them to risk losing. The official Discord is one of the most empty I've seen out of any crypto game. Most of the comments just come from the same 5 mega bag holders tripping over themselves to defend Ubisoft. But soon enough, a community moderator would step in and say that the dev team doesn't work on the weekends, and they'll get it fixed on Monday. So, I returned the next morning, eagerly anticipating my first real match of Champions Tactics, which, of course, I lost. This is the ranked mode, after all. I can't just expect to start steamrolling right away, so I proceeded to dump an entire extra hour into this, just to be thorough. I tried my best to come up with anything more to say about the gameplay, but I really can't think of anything. It's honestly impressive just how uninteresting this game is. It's supposed to be a collectible game, I guess like Pokemon, with the player's main focus being collecting the best figurines to win the most matches. Unfortunately, they forgot to ask themselves the most important question of all. Why would anyone want to collect these? There are 75,000 of these figurines, and each one of them is an NFT. All of these were distributed to the players that joined the exclusive whitelist a year ago, so now the only way to get one for yourself is to buy one on the marketplace. And if you'll look there, you'll soon find that they're indifferentiable. Their attributes, features, and even names are all randomly generated. What's the difference between Swift Beast and Balanced Flesh Reaper, and why is one worth $250 million? As I said earlier, all 75,000 of these champions have already been distributed. This means that there's no way to earn any for free. In fact, you can't even get in-game currency or do quests unless you've purchased at least 3 NFTs. At their current prices, that'll run you about $30, not including the litany of fees you'll pay. So this isn't really a free-to-play game. It's more like a free demo, and the full game costs $30. Yeah, right. But look, I can ignore this stupid monetization. I've seen way worse, and at least these guys aren't trying to pretend to be something they're not. There will always be pay-to-win and gacha games, and while I would never play them, there's definitely a market for them. It's not the monetary aspects of this that I don't like. It's the sheer absurdity of the game existing in the first place. These are all entirely meaningless characters. Even the developers don't care about pretending there's a story. It's all proudly displayed in such a lazy fashion, and they expect people to just lap it up. Do they think consumers are idiots? Actually, you know what? They might be right. I'm a gamer though, not a consumer, and from that perspective, there's not a single thing to like. Not only are the characters you play as randomly generated, your damage values are as well. Everything feels arbitrary. I found a funny exchange in the Discord server that only furthers this point. Why is this character better than another? Asks a player. Why is a $65,000 character better than a $7 one? Someone then responds by sending them a link to a community-created Google Doc with a bunch of formulas to rank the stats of your randomly generated figurine. Using this, you can figure out if something is worth purchasing or not, since some champions are objectively better than others. Essentially, your single biggest gameplay decision is made with your wallet. Buy as many champions as possible. That way, you can counter anything your enemy throws at you. Then, sit back and watch while your randomly generated characters with randomly generated names participate in a battle where they deal random damage in front of a static background while stock music plays on loop. I'm on the edge of my seat. This is a bastardization of the concept of video games as a whole. It couldn't be any less surprising that such a vapid product came from the likes of Ubisoft. A game this malignant could have only ever come from a team of out-of-touch, middle-aged French guys. Funnily enough, this is the perfect example of a crypto game. Every aspect is infected with the tropes that we've seen time and time again. It's not even a grift. They wear it on their sleeve. Plus, it's pretty clear that this game was just rushed out, with little care for any level of quality. For example, when I surrendered a match, this image appeared in the corner of my screen. It never left, remaining throughout my subsequent matches for the rest of my play session. Also, on my player stats page, under Time Played, it says I've logged 4,000 years of playtime. I really am in hell, aren't I? Outside of the actual game client, they've got all their marketplace stuff on their website, which runs like ass. The site constantly lags and hangs, draining resources to show pointless visual effects that nobody could ever care about. This is the one aspect I'd want to be as streamlined and minimalist as possible, but they fail there too. There's nothing at all appealing about this game, and you'd be doing yourself a disservice even downloading it. The hour and a half I spent playing was so uninteresting that my brain has already overwritten the memory. I'm struggling to find anything else to say about this, but I think I've already said more than enough. You're never going to play this game, and nobody will remember its existence by next week. Alright, well, that's all. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.